There is a quiet power in stopping the war you are waging against things you cannot change. You have been pouring time, anger, and hope into battles with the past, with other people, with seasons of life that keep shifting. It feels noble, sometimes urgent, but it often leaves you worn out and more stuck than before. I want to speak directly to that place inside you that keeps trying. This is for the part of you that is tired, but not yet sure how to stop. Stay with me for a few minutes. There is a simple but deep shift ahead. Before we go further, if this feels right, consider leaving one short sentence below, something like, I let go of what I cannot control. Sharing this brief sentence will help you mark a decision inside yourself, like putting a small flag down where you want to begin. It is a tiny signal to your mind and body. No need for more than that. You are not failing because you want to change things. You are human. We are all wired to act when we see a problem. But the conflict I want to name is this. You are fighting what cannot be fought. That struggle takes many shapes. You try to fix someone who is not ready. You keep replaying a mistake from years ago. You demand certainty from life, and when it does not deliver, you push harder. You resist the fact that people age, plans change, the weather ruins a trip, or a body gets sick. The energy you use up in resistance is real. It affects your sleep, your appetite, your relationships, and your clarity. It narrows your attention to one recurring loop. You become smaller because so much of your energy is locked into trying to make something different than it is. Let me be plain. Acceptance is not the same as giving up. Acceptance is a practical reorientation. It frees energy. It allows you to act where acting matters. When you stop fighting the immovable, you can use your energy to shape what is actually possible. Why do we fight what cannot be changed? 3 simple reasons. First, we imagine that if we push hard enough, things will bend. That hope lives in the same place as our fear. Second, we mistake surrender for weakness. We think that to stop pushing is to stop caring. And third, resistance has become a habit, a reflex that shows up without thought. These reasons make sense. No shame. But there is a cost. When you resist, you make the present moment a problem. You keep trying to control uncertainty. You build tension inside your body. You lose sight of what you could actually do. Think of a river that bends around a rock. The water does not try to move the rock. It flows. The river keeps its energy moving. This is the logic of the Tao. Move with what is, not against it. That simple line of thinking changes how decisions feel. It does not remove responsibility. It changes where you place your effort. Here is the key shift I want you to practice today. Treat resistance as information, not as a command. Resistance tells you something. It tells you where you care. It shows where your expectations are being challenged. But resistance does not tell you what to do next. If you listen to resistance as if it must be obeyed, you will spin in circles. Instead, notice the resistance, name it, and then ask, what part of the situation can I actually influence right now? That single shift, from obeying resistance to using it as data, frees up energy. It lets you act where action works. It lets you rest where rest is wiser. Now, I want to give you 3 practical exercises you can do today. Each one is simple, and each reteaches your nervous system how to use energy better. For each exercise, I will tell you what it is, how to do it today, and what feeling to notice. Exercise 1. The 2-minute name. What it is, a short pause to name the resistance out loud, and to see it as something separate from you. How to do it today. Find a quiet spot for 2 minutes. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes for a moment. Breathe slowly, just 2 or 3 full breaths. Then say, out loud or silently, a simple sentence like, this is resistance. Or, if you prefer to be specific, this is my fear about the job, or this is my anger about that call. Say it plainly, as if you were pointing to a cloud. Keep the tone neutral. Do not judge the feeling. Spend 1 minute simply naming what is present. Then spend the last minute asking, what can I influence about this in the next hour? Let the list be small, 1 or 2 items only. What feeling to notice? Notice the difference between the tightness you felt before naming it and whatever space appears after. You might feel a slight loosening, a tiny breathing room. That is the felt change you are training for. Exercise 2, the 5-minute let-go experiment. What it is: a time-limited practice of deliberately doing nothing about a problem you usually push on to see what happens. How to do it today: choose one small thing you normally react to. It could be replaying an argument, checking messages, or rehearsing what you would say. Set a timer for 5 minutes. During those minutes, your only job is to observe. When the impulse to act comes up, say to yourself, "Not now." Breathe. Bring attention to your feet or your hands. Let the urge pass. If it helps, repeat a soft phrase, "I will choose later." When the timer ends, notice whether the urge has returned or whether it feels lighter. Do not judge the result. The experiment itself is the work. What feeling to notice? Notice any reduction in urgency. Watch how your body responds when you do not immediately react. There may be a small relief or an increase in curiosity. Both are useful signals. Exercise 3, the redirect action. What it is: a small, deliberate action aimed at what you can change, chosen while you are calm. How to do it today. After doing the 2-minute name or the 5-minute experiment, pick one tiny action that moves you forward. Make it a real, doable thing in 10 minutes or less. Examples: send a clarifying message, schedule a short call, make a payment, tidy one area that is bothering you, or write a single line in a journal about next steps. Do it without trying to fix everything. The goal is to act where your effort aligns with results. What feeling to notice? Notice the difference between the rush of trying to control everything and the quiet steadiness that comes from completing a manageable step. There is often a small relief and a clearer sense of what matters next. These 3 exercises are simple, but repeated practice rewires how you relate to hard things. They teach you to map the real terrain, what can be influenced and what is beyond push. Now, let me pause here and say something important about emotions. You are allowed to be angry, sad, disappointed, or afraid. Those feelings are honest. They are the language of your cares. Acceptance of what cannot be changed does not mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting feeling dictate the only response. It means you hold the emotion, like a warm hand, without letting it push you into repeated harm. It is okay if you resist the idea at first. Let that be part of the process. Resistance toward acceptance is normal. You are not wrong for being wary. Start small. I want to tell you a short story about someone I know. It could be you, and how a single shift changed the shape of their days. A few years ago, there was a woman named Maya. She worked in a small business and she loved her job until she did not. Her boss changed. The tasks multiplied. She found herself trying to defend every inch of her time. She wrote long emails, stayed late to rework reports, and replayed conversations that went poorly. She started waking in the night with her chest tight, thinking about meetings she could not rewrite. Maya thought she could solve this by working harder. She negotiated, she complained, and she tried to control every variable. Nothing stuck. Her stress grew, and so did a slow resentment toward the place she once loved. One afternoon she sat at her kitchen table, exhausted. She realized she had been spending energy on things she could not change: the personality of her boss, the business's external pressures, and certain structural decisions. She paused long enough to ask, "What part of this situation can I influence?" The answer was small and clear. She could change how she scheduled her day. She could set reasonable boundaries with specific requests. She could focus on the tasks that mattered and let the rest be. At first, the idea of letting the rest be felt like betrayal. She feared being seen as weak. But she tried one small experiment. The next morning she used the 2-minute name and then set a 5-minute rule for not answering non-urgent emails. Then she took the smallest redirect action she could imagine. She cleared her inbox of 3 items that had been annoying her for weeks. One by one, the shape of her day changed. The turning point came when she took a hard look at what her resistance had cost. The long hours had not improved her work. The arguments had not changed her boss. But the tiny choices she made, when she was calm, built a rhythm that sustained her. She began to reclaim energy. Her evenings became a place to recover, not replay. Over months, not weeks, her work felt different. Not because everything around her changed, but because she stopped fighting what she could not change. She put that effort elsewhere. There are 3 things I want you to remember from Maya's story. 1. The battle you are in is often against something fixed, not against an enemy that can be persuaded. 2. Small experiments matter more than dramatic shifts. 3. The turning point is internal, a choice to reassign energy. If you try the exercises, you will meet doubt. You will meet relapse. You will have days where you fall into old habits. That is fine. This is a practice, not a test you pass all at once. We have been talking about acceptance as a way to free energy, but now let me be practical about boundaries. Acceptance does not mean tolerating abuse or ignoring clear action that must be taken. If a situation harms you, acceptance means seeing the harm clearly and then taking precise steps to protect yourself. The difference is that acceptance aims actions at results, not at trying to change what is unchangeable. Here is one short practice to carry with you across the day. Label one thing you are resisting when you first notice tension. Name it quietly. Ask yourself 2 questions. Can I do anything about this in the next hour? If yes, pick one tiny step. If no, give yourself permission to let it rest for now. This tiny pause stops the automatic response cycle. Over time, it creates a habit of action that is smart and limited, instead of frantic and unlimited. You might ask, does acceptance mean I will be passive about injustice or about meaningful goals? Acceptance is not passivity. It is clarity. It helps you see where your efforts will matter and where they will not. That clarity supports effective action, not less action. Let me offer one more small concrete rule to use when you feel overwhelmed. The 20 halves rule. When a problem feels big, spend 20 minutes identifying 1 or 2 things you can influence, then spend 2 minutes letting the rest go. That 2-minute let go is not denial. It is a short, intentional decision to stop spinning. Then, return to action where it will count. This rule trains your nervous system to alternate between focused doing and brief release. You may wonder how long it takes to see real change. The honest answer is that it depends. Some people notice small shifts in days. More often, change is visible in weeks and months. What matters is the repetition of small choices, not the pursuit of one dramatic breakthrough. Before we close, I want to say something about grief and loss, because fighting what cannot be changed often shows up there. If you are in grief, acceptance will sound callous. It is not. Acceptance in grief is the work of allowing what has happened to be part of your life, while you carry what you love forward. It does not erase the pain. It helps you live alongside it, so the pain does not become the only story you tell. If you are living with chronic situations, illness, long-term relationships, or deep disappointments, these practices are not a cure. They are a way to live more clearly. They help you conserve energy for what matters: connection, rest, and creative action. Now, a brief invitation. If you feel unsure, try this. Tonight, before bed, pick one small thing you will stop trying to control for the next 24 hours. It can be minor, a call you cannot reach, the weather for your plans, or someone else's mood. Notice how much energy you free. Use that energy to do one small thing that moves you forward. You are allowed to take the long view. You are allowed to hold tenderness for yourself when you slip. And you are allowed to keep caring deeply about the world, without making your life depend on outcomes you cannot command. To close, let me summarize the essentials in clear steps you can use tomorrow. First, when you feel tension, name the resistance. Simple naming separates you from the feeling. Second, test not acting in short, timed experiments. See what happens when you let an urge pass. Third, act in short, deliberate, directed ways on what you can influence. Small actions compound. Fourth, protect your heart. Acceptance is not resignation. It is clarity that supports wise action. Fifth, repeat. This is a muscle that strengthens with practice. Before I end, I want to invite a small moment of compassion. Wherever you are and however long you have been fighting, know that you have something to offer when you stop wasting energy. Your clarity, calm, and small, thoughtful actions will change more than resistance ever could. What could you do differently if you stopped fighting what you cannot change? If you found this useful and you want more gentle guidance on living with less struggle, Please subscribe to the Sacred Art of Being for more.